Hey everybody, Nate Carter here with today's Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. Have you ever used these dangerous words with God? Surely God won't mind if, or God will understand if I just, and then fill in the blank. I'll admit that I've been guilty of using that phrase myself, and I'll tell you that's Satan speaking to you, trying to convince you to compromise your faith. I want to read to you a passage from Numbers 32. We're getting toward the end of the Israelites' journey, 40 years in the wilderness, and toward the end of Numbers here, which is where they're almost in the promised land. And the fact that we're right at the end makes this that much more of a sad commentary about what happens. Beginning with the first verse of Numbers 32. Now the people of Reuben and the people of Gad had a very great number of livestock. And they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, and behold, the place was a place for livestock. So the people of Gad and the people of Reuben came and said to Moses and to Eleazar the priest and to the chiefs of the congregation, the land that the Lord struck down before the congregation of Israel is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. And they said, if we have found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants for a possession. Do not take us across the Jordan. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The promised land is practically in sight now. And these tribes of Israel are saying to Moses, you know what? I know we're almost there, but on second thought, let's stay on this side of the river. Don't lead us across the Jordan River. Look, this land looks great. There's good grazing land for our livestock. It's just going to be easier for us to stay here. We've journeyed this whole way. A whole generation has now died off, but we just feel like it's going to be easier to stay here. Surely God won't mind if we just camp on this side of the river. Now, I don't know how many times I have seen it just in ministry where people have made a compromise about the way they follow God. That they say to themselves something to the effect of, I've been so faithful in following God in these ways. I attend church and I'm part of a group and I give my tithes and offerings. Surely God won't mind if I compromise my sexual ethic. Surely God won't mind if I cut a corner here or there. Surely God won't mind. Surely God would understand. Surely I've done enough for God that I can make compromises in this way. And that's what Reuben and Gad seem to be doing here. Now, the passage ends with Moses, honoring their request and giving them the land that they want. And everything seems hunky-dory. Things seem fine. Reuben and Gad are happy. The half-tribe of Manasseh ends up jumping on board, which is, that's indicting into itself. And all looks good. But what happens later on in the story of the history of Israel is that little by little, that little compromise that Reuben and Gad have made ends up becoming a bigger and bigger gap between what God wants for them and the way that they follow them. Now they're farther away from Jerusalem, where the festivals are going to be taking place, and so they begin to set their own places of worship in their own land, which is not what God had designed for them. And little by little, sin begins to encroach on the people of Reuben and Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh. And so that little compromise that they made early on to go to the fertile land that's this side of the Jordan River ends up becoming a great downfall for them in the end. So the lesson that we learn from this, guys, is not to compromise in our Christian walk. Again, I'll just share with you, without being specific, the number of times that I've seen the little compromises in people's lives end up being their downfall. I've often seen people fall away from the faith entirely because they began to make compromises in their discipleship. So hold strong, stay true to what God has called you to, follow Him. Yes, there is grace when you slip up, but don't go intentionally into a sinful or compromised position. Stay strong in your discipleship, in the way that you follow Jesus, and it will reward you in the long term. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.